Beloved, there is something I need you to understand before we go any further. Before the noise of the day presses in. Before the numbers on your bank screen tell you their familiar story of not enough. Before the weight of what you owe tries to convince you of what you cannot have. I need you to hear this truth and let it land somewhere deeper than your mind. Let it land in the place where your real believing lives. The place that does not argue. The place that does not calculate. The place that simply receives. And the truth is this: there is a check in the invisible with your name on it, not a metaphor. Not a comfortable spiritual idea designed to make you feel better about your circumstances. A real, exact, precisely written check, signed by the law of divine supply, made out to you by name, for an amount that matches your need, your vision, and your faith. It exists right now. It existed before you woke up this morning. It existed before the problem arrived that made you feel you needed it. It was written in the invisible storehouse of God before the foundation of your current season, and it is waiting. Not because the law is slow, not because God is testing your endurance, but because the check cannot be cashed until the one whose name is on it shows up at the window with the currency of faith and claims it. That is what we are doing today. We are going to the window, together, and we are not leaving without what has already been prepared. Now, I want you to think about something for a moment. In the natural world, a check that is written but never presented is worthless to the one it was written for. It does not matter how large the amount. It does not matter how genuine the intention of the one who wrote it. It does not matter that it was signed and sealed and placed with your name upon it. If you never present it, you never receive it. The money stays where it is, perfectly available, perfectly real, but completely unreachable by you, not because it was withheld, but because you never reached out your hand to take it. And this is exactly the condition in which millions of people are living today. Not denied, not overlooked, not passed over by God, simply unpresented, standing at the door of their own good, with the currency of vague hoping and wondering why the window does not open. They have heard about the check. They believe in a general way that God provides. They have read the scriptures about abundance and nodded their head and felt a brief warmth in the chest before the cold arithmetic of daily life pulled them back into the familiar conversation with lack. But they have never walked up to the window. They have never placed their specific, named, faith-filled claim upon the counter and said, "I am here. I know my name is on it. I am presenting my faith as the currency. Give me what was prepared for me." That presentation, beloved, is what this teaching is about. That moment of bold, clear, spiritually grounded claiming is the entire difference between the life you are living and the life that has been prepared for you. And I want to tell you something about that moment. It is not difficult. It does not require years of spiritual preparation. It does not require a certain level of education, or a certain kind of personality, or a certain history of clean living. The window is open to anyone who approaches it with clarity, with faith, and with the simple audacity to say, "This one is mine. I am here to receive it." But before I take you to that window, I want to settle something in your spirit that has perhaps never been fully settled before. I want to answer the question that lives underneath all the striving and all the seeking and all the faithful hoping. The question that whispers in the quiet moments when no one else can hear it. The question that says, "But is this really for me?" And the answer, spoken from the deepest knowing I carry, is yes. 1,000 times yes. Not maybe, not possibly if you try hard enough. Not eventually if you improve sufficiently. Yes, right now, as you are, where you are, with everything you carry and everything you lack, and everything you are still becoming. The invisible check has your name on it, not a generic name, not a category you belong to. Your name, the name your mother gave you, the name that was known before you were born. Your specific, individual, irreplaceable name on a provision that was designed for no one else on earth but you. Beloved, let us begin at the very beginning, because the beginning is where most people get lost and never find their way back. The beginning is the moment of the original decree. Long before you ever spoke a word of faith, long before you ever learned about invisible laws or the power of the spoken word or the science of manifestation, a decree was made on your behalf in the realm of the Spirit. A provision was established, an invisible check was written, and it was written not based on your worthiness, not based on your record, not based on your spiritual performance or your consistency in prayer or the number of good deeds you have accumulated. It was written based on one thing only, the nature of the God who wrote it, a God of unlimited supply, a God who does not know the word shortage, a God whose storehouse has never run low, has never had a queue too long, has never told a single seeking soul that the provision ran out before their name came up. The invisible check with your name on it was written by a God who has never once, in all of eternity, bounced a check. And that check is waiting for you right now with the full backing of heaven behind every zero. Now here is where the modern mind often gets tangled. Because we live in an age of information, of strategy, of hustle culture that tells you the only real currency is effort, and the only real law is the law of cause and effect in the physical world. Work more, earn more, network harder, rise faster. And I am not here to tell you that effort has no place. The law of supply works through channels, and those channels often include your hands, your voice, your creativity, your willingness to act on inspired ideas. But effort without alignment is a wheel spinning in mud. You can work yourself to exhaustion and still find that the abundance eludes you, because you have been working from the address of lack, trying to push your way to prosperity from the outside, when the real work has always been an inside job. The invisible check does not respond to hustle, it responds to alignment. It does not cash itself for the most exhausted person in the room. It cashes itself for the most aligned person in the room. And alignment is something you can choose right now, in this moment, regardless of how long the struggle has been, regardless of what the circumstances currently look like, regardless of what the voice of the world has been telling you about your chances. Let me tell you what alignment looks like in the modern world, because Florence Scovel Shinn taught it in drawing rooms a century ago, and the principles have not changed. But the landscape we apply them to has expanded in ways she would have found magnificent. Alignment today means this. It means that when you open your banking app and the number is lower than you need it to be, you do not collapse into the story that number is telling. You acknowledge it calmly, the way a pilot acknowledges turbulence, without panic, without changing course, because you know the destination has not changed. The invisible check has not been canceled because of the turbulence. It is still exactly where it was. And you, like the pilot, keep your hand steady on the controls of your faith and continue toward the destination you have named. Alignment means that when a friend tells you about their financial breakthrough and the old familiar sting of, "Why not me?" tries to rise, you catch it before it becomes a decree. You bless their good. You celebrate it as evidence that the law works, that the invisible check is real, and that if it cashed for them, it is absolutely ready to cash for you. Alignment means that your playlist, your podcasts, your social media feed, the conversations you allow yourself to linger in, all of these things are either feeding your faith or feeding your fear. And you have the power to choose which one gets fed. In the modern world, alignment is not just a spiritual posture, it is a daily, deliberate set of choices about what you allow into your atmosphere. Now I want to talk to you about the specific nature of the invisible check, because specificity is the element that so many people skip, and it is the element that makes all the difference. A check without an amount is not a check, it is a piece of paper with good intentions. The invisible supply cannot move in your direction until you give it a number to move toward. This is not about greed. This is not about materialism dressed up in spiritual language. This is about the way the law works. The law is precise. It is exact. It functions like the most advanced delivery system in existence, capable of routing your good through 1,000 different channels, arranging coincidences that the logical mind would call impossible, moving people and opportunities and resources in ways that defy conventional explanation. But it needs a number. It needs your order to be complete before it can begin the delivery. So today, right now, in the stillness of this moment, I am asking you to do something that may feel uncomfortable. I am asking you to name the amount. Write it down if you need to. Speak it aloud if you are ready, but make it specific. Not "I want more money," not "I want enough to get by." Give the law a number it can work with. 20,000, 50,000, 500. Whatever the number is that represents your next level of good, the amount that would shift something real in your life, that would clear the pressing need, fund the waiting dream, open the door you have been standing in front of. Name it. And as you name it, know that somewhere in the invisible, the check, with that exact amount, is being confirmed as yours. And when you have named the amount, you must dress it in vision, because the law works with pictures as much as it works with numbers. The number gives the law the what, the picture gives the law the why. And when the law understands both the what and the why of your desire, it becomes unstoppable in its movement toward you. So see the check. Literally see it in the eye of your mind. See your name written across it in full. See the amount clear and bold and real. See yourself holding it, presenting it, watching as what was invisible becomes visible in your hands. And then, go further. See what the check makes possible. See the conversation that happens when the bill is paid and the weight lifts from your shoulders. See the face of the person you will bless with a portion of it. See the version of your life that exists on the other side of this provision arriving. Make the picture so real, so detailed, so warm with life and color and emotional truth that when you close your eyes and look at it, your nervous system responds as though it is already happening. Because in the invisible, it already is. The law does not distinguish between a vividly imagined reality and a physical one. Both register with equal force in the realm where all creation begins. Beloved, I want to pause here and speak to something that lives in the hearts of those who have been on this path for a while. Those who have named the amount before. Those who have held the vision before. Those who have spoken the decree and kept the faith and done everything the teaching said to do and have still been waiting longer than seemed necessary. I know you are there. I see you. And I want to say something to you that comes from the deepest place of what I know about the invisible law. Your waiting has not been wasted. Not one day of it. Not one prayer of it. Not one morning of choosing faith over fear when fear was louder. The invisible law keeps perfect accounts, and every deposit of faith you have made has been recorded. Every time you held the vision when the circumstances screamed otherwise, the vibration of that holding added to the energy gathering around your invisible check. Every time you refused the rival decree, refused to say it will never happen, refused to speak the language of permanent lack, you kept the channel clear for your delivery. And here is what I know about the harvest of long faith. It comes suddenly. It comes in a way that makes people say, "Where did that come from?" It comes with an abundance that seems disproportionate to any single act of faith, because it carries the compound interest of every act of faith that came before. The law is not slow, it is thorough. And when it finally delivers to one who has waited in faithfulness, it delivers in a way that cannot be explained by natural cause and effect alone. It delivers in a way that testifies to the power of the invisible law. So keep going, beloved. You are not behind. You are being prepared for a delivery that will match the size of your faithfulness. Now let us talk about the modern manifestation principle that Florence Scovel Shinn understood before the science caught up with the spirit. Today we know, through the work of researchers in quantum physics and neuroscience, what the great spiritual teachers knew through revelation alone, that the mind is not merely a receiver of reality, but a creator of it. That the thoughts you think consistently, the pictures you hold with feeling, the words you speak with conviction, literally shape the field of probability around your life. They influence which possibilities collapse from the invisible into the visible. They determine which doors you notice and which ones remain invisible to you, not because they are not there, but because your current frequency does not make them visible. The science calls it confirmation bias, the reticular activating system, neuroplasticity. The spirit calls it faith, decree, the law of attraction. The language is different. The truth is the same. You move toward what you consistently hold in your mind and your mouth. And the invisible check, the provision that already exists for you in the realm of pure potential, becomes visible to you and accessible to you in direct proportion to the clarity and consistency of your alignment with it. This is not superstition. This is the most sophisticated understanding of human consciousness and its relationship to reality that the 21st century has produced. And it confirms everything the great teachers of the invisible law said 100 years ago in drawing rooms in churches and small meeting halls where people gathered to learn how to change their lives from the inside out. So what does this mean practically for you today? It means that your phone is a tool of manifestation. The content you consume on it is either expanding your vision of what is possible for you or contracting it. The accounts you follow, the videos you watch, the conversations you allow yourself to be drawn into, all of it is either feeding the frequency of your invisible check or diluting it. This is not about spiritual perfectionism. This is about being intentional with the most powerful resource you have, which is your consistent mental and emotional state. Choose, deliberately and without apology, to feed your faith. Find the voices that remind you the law is real. Find the stories that prove provision comes in unexpected ways. Find the evidence that the invisible check has cashed for people who were in circumstances more difficult than yours, because that evidence exists in abundance. And every time you encounter it, let it land not as someone else's story, but as a preview of your own. Let it register in your nervous system as confirmation. The law works. It works for them. It works for me. My invisible check is real, and it is coming. Here is a keynote truth I want to plant in you today, like a seed that will keep growing long after this speech ends. The invisible check was not written for a version of you that does not yet exist. It was not written for the you that has finally fixed all your flaws, paid all your debts, resolved all your contradictions, and arrived at some imaginary state of spiritual perfection. It was written for you as you are right now, with your history, with your questions, with your imperfect faith, and your human doubts, and the places in you that are still healing and still becoming. The law does not require you to be finished before it delivers. It requires you to be aligned. And alignment is available to you right now, in your current state, with your current life, with your current everything. You do not have to wait until you are better before your good can come. Your good is designed to come as part of the process that makes you better. The provision arrives alongside the growth, not after it. The check cashes on the journey, not only at the destination. So stop waiting to be ready, beloved. You are ready enough. The law says so. The invisible check says so. And today, if you will simply align yourself with the truth of it, the delivery begins. I want to talk now about the spoken decree, because this is one of the most powerful and most underused tools available to every person who desires to see their invisible provision become visible. In the ancient traditions, in every culture that understood the invisible laws, the spoken word was treated with extraordinary reverence, not because words are magic spells that conjure things from thin air, but because the spoken word is the bridge between the inner world and the outer world. It is the point at which your invisible believing becomes visible in the atmosphere. When you speak your decree aloud, you do something that silent thought cannot do. You commit. You plant your flag. You declare to the invisible law and to your own subconscious mind and to the atmosphere around you that you have made your choice. You have chosen the address of abundance over the address of lack. You have chosen to present your invisible check rather than leave it unclaimed. And the law, hearing the specificity and the faith and the feeling in your voice, responds with the same commitment. It begins to move. Not might move, not will consider moving, moves. Right then, in the invisible, the arrangement begins. The channels start to open. The people who need to be repositioned in your life start to be repositioned. The ideas that will lead you to the action that will bring the provision start to form in the deeper mind. All of this begins with the spoken word. So speak it today. Speak it clearly. Speak it with the voice of one who is not asking, but claiming. Not hoping, but knowing. Not begging the universe, but presenting the faith currency at the window and receiving what was already prepared. Beloved, let me give you the decree right now. Speak it with me if you will. By divine right, under grace, in perfect ways, my invisible check now manifests in my hands. The exact provision I need comes to me now through expected and unexpected channels. I am the rightful recipient of God's unlimited supply. My name is on this blessing. I present my faith and I receive my good. Now, today, in this moment, and in the perfect moment of its arrival. This is my decree. This is my address. And the law delivers accordingly. Let me tell you something about what happens after the decree is spoken. Because many people speak the word and then immediately go back to watching the door for the result. They decree in faith and then check their circumstances every 10 minutes to see if the decree is working. And beloved, that checking, that anxious monitoring, that constant measuring of the gap between where you are and where your decree says you are going, that is the thing that slows the delivery more than almost anything else. It is like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to see if the root has formed. The digging undoes the planting. The checking signals to the law that you do not actually believe, that you are hoping rather than knowing, that the address you gave was conditional rather than certain. And the law reads that signal as clearly as it reads the decree. So the practice of the truly aligned believer is this: decree, and then release. Speak the word, and then live in the certainty of its fulfillment without needing to see evidence every moment. This is what Shinn called living in the now of the answered prayer, not waiting for the answer. Living in the reality of it as already accomplished in the invisible. Your role after the decree is not to monitor the delivery. Your role is to maintain the address. To keep your inner life at the frequency of the fulfilled decree. To speak and think and feel as the person who has already received, not the person who is anxiously waiting to see if they will. And here is the modern tool that makes this easier than it has ever been before. Write your decree down. Put it in your phone. Make it your lock screen if you need to. Record yourself speaking it and play it back when the rival thoughts get loud. In the digital age, we have more tools for consistent reinforcement of our mental pictures than any generation before us ever had. Use them, not obsessively, not in the grasping way of someone trying to force the universe, but deliberately, the way a gardener tends, a growing thing, steady, consistent, faithful. And watch as the consistency of your inner address produces the consistency of your outer results. Now I want to speak about something that modern manifestation teachers often skip because it is less exciting than the law of attraction, but equally essential to the whole mechanism of supply. And that is the matter of action. Inspired, aligned, faith-led action. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that the invisible law uses your feet as much as your faith. It uses your hands as much as your heart. The invisible check becomes visible not only through prayer and decree and vision, but through the divinely inspired nudges that come to the aligned mind and say, make this call, send this message, walk through this door, accept this invitation, revisit this idea you dismissed too quickly. The modern manifestation movement sometimes creates the illusion that you can sit perfectly still in perfect faith and the universe will helicopter your good directly to your door. And while there are moments of such miraculous provision that arrive without any apparent human effort, the more common mechanism of the law is this. It plants an idea, it opens a door, it arranges a meeting, and then it waits to see if you will move, if you will respond to the nudge. If you will take the step that looks small from the outside, but is enormous in the invisible, because it tells the law that you are serious, you are aligned, you are ready, and you are willing to walk toward your good even when you cannot yet see the full path. So pay attention to the nudges, the thoughts that return to you consistently, the ideas that feel inspired rather than desperate, the sudden urge to reach out to someone you have not spoken to in a while, the sense that a particular door deserves a second knock. These are the law working through the mechanism of your intuition. These are the delivery instructions for your invisible check. Follow them without requiring a complete explanation first. Move with faith, and watch as the movement releases the provision. There is a keynote I want to leave ringing in your heart as we move toward the close of this teaching, and it is this: the invisible check does not expire. Let that land. The provision that was prepared for you does not have a redemption deadline. The law does not cancel your good because you took too long to claim it. The storehouse of God does not rotate its inventory and replace your unclaimed provision with someone else's order. Your good is yours. It has always been yours. It will continue to be yours until the moment you step into alignment and claim it. This means that no matter how many years you have spent in the waiting room of your own life, no matter how many times you have started and started again, no matter how many declarations you have made and then allowed the rival thought to swallow, the invisible check is still there, still bearing your name, still backed by the full and unlimited resources of divine supply, still waiting with a patience that puts human patience to shame. Because the law does not grow tired of waiting for you. The law simply waits. And the moment, the very instant, you show up at the window with the currency of genuine, specific, feeling-filled, spoken faith, the transaction happens. The provision moves. The invisible becomes visible. And the life that has been waiting for you, the life that was prepared before the struggle began, starts to emerge from the invisible into the real and tangible experience of your days. And I want to speak now about the atmosphere of your life, because the atmosphere is something that Florence Scovel Shinn understood in a way that was ahead of her time and that modern neuroscience has only recently begun to confirm. Your atmosphere is the sum total of the energy that surrounds your daily existence, the music you listen to, the conversations you participate in, the news you consume, the people whose voices you allow to speak most frequently into your life, the spaces you inhabit, and the feelings those spaces produce in your body. All of these things together create an atmosphere. And that atmosphere either supports the reality of your invisible check or undermines it. You cannot spend 8 hours a day in an atmosphere of scarcity consciousness, in conversations about how hard everything is, in a media environment that feeds on fear and lack and competition, and then expect that 10 minutes of morning decree will overcome all of that opposing vibration. The decree is powerful, but it must be supported by an atmosphere that does not constantly contradict it. So tend your atmosphere deliberately. Not by becoming unrealistic about the challenges of life, not by pretending problems do not exist, but by choosing, where you have the power to choose, to surround yourself with evidence of the law at work, with people who understand that provision is real, with content that expands rather than contracts your vision of what is possible, with music that lifts your frequency, with gratitude practices that keep your eyes open to the good that is already present even while you are calling for more. Your atmosphere is your daily address. And the cleaner and clearer and more abundance aligned you keep it, the faster the invisible check finds its way to your hands. Let me also speak to you about the people who will not understand what you are doing. Because when you begin to live from the truth of the invisible check, when you begin to speak differently and choose differently and refuse the language of permanent lack, there will be people in your life who find it uncomfortable. People who have organized their entire identity around a story of struggle and who feel somehow threatened by your choice to tell a different story. People who will call your faith naive. People who will remind you of every time it did not work before, every disappointment, every decree that seemed to go unanswered. as though the past is the final authority on what the future can hold. Beloved, love these people. Love them without absorbing their frequency. You can be kind without being contaminated. You can be compassionate without being converted back to the old story. The greatest gift you can give anyone who is still living at the address of lack is not an argument about the law. It is the testimony of your own life shifting. It is the evidence of your invisible check becoming visible and real. Let your results be the sermon. Let your breakthrough be the teaching. And until the breakthrough arrives visibly, let your peace, your steadiness, your quiet confidence that something is coming be the thing that makes them curious enough to ask what you know. Beloved, we are living in an extraordinary time, a time when information about the invisible laws is more widely available than at any point in human history. When Florence Scovel Shinn was writing her books, you had to find them in specialty bookshops or receive them through word of mouth from someone who had discovered the truth and could not keep it to themselves. Today, the teaching reaches millions in a single morning. Today, a speech like this one can travel around the world before the day is done and land in the ears of someone on the other side of the planet who needed these exact words at this exact moment of their life. And I believe that the widespread availability of this truth is not accidental. I believe that the world is being prepared for a massive shift in consciousness around abundance, around supply, around the relationship between the invisible and the visible. I believe that millions of people are waking up right now to the truth that poverty is not God's plan for anyone, that lack is not a virtue, that the humble life the Spirit calls us to is not a life of financial deprivation, but a life of inner richness that naturally and beautifully expresses itself in outer provision. And I believe that the invisible check is not just for you as an individual, it is for your family, it is for your community. It is for the dreams you carry that are bigger than your personal comfort, the dreams that involve healing and building and blessing and lifting. The law of supply does not stop at what you need to survive. It extends to what you are called to do. And when you begin to claim your invisible check, not just for yourself but for the purpose it will serve, not just for the relief it will bring but for the lives it will touch, the law adds the force of divine purpose to the force of personal faith. And that combination, beloved, is irresistible. So let me gather every thread of what we have spoken today into one living cord of truth that you can carry out of this moment and into the rest of your life. Your invisible check exists. It has your name on it. It was written before the need arose and it has not been canceled by the struggle. It is waiting in the invisible storehouse of God for you to present the currency of specific, vision-filled, feeling warm, consistently spoken faith. The law that governs its delivery is precise, faithful, and without favoritism. It delivers to the clear address. It responds to the aligned mind. It moves through the inspired action. It multiplies through gratitude. And it rewards, with a harvest that exceeds the planting, the one who keeps their decree steady through every season of waiting. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are not the exception to the rule of divine provision. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, reading these words, hearing this truth, standing at the threshold of the moment when everything begins to shift. The only thing left is the choosing. The choosing to walk to the window, the choosing to open your mouth and speak the decree, the choosing to hold the vision when the circumstances press against it, the choosing to act on the nudge when the inspired idea arrives, the choosing to receive the first sign with the gratitude of one who knows the fullness of the harvest is behind it. Choose today, beloved. Present your invisible check today, not when it feels more possible, not when the circumstances improve enough to make faith easier. Now. Thanks for watching. Because the now is always the only moment the law can work in. The law does not live in yesterday, where your lack was born. It does not live in tomorrow, where your hope is parked. It lives in the eternal now, where your decree is made, where your faith is planted, where your abundance is claimed and set in motion. Speak it now, see it now, feel it now. And then live your today as the person who knows, with the quiet, unshakable certainty of one who has studied the law and tested it and found it faithful that the invisible check with your name on it is already being processed, already moving through the channels of divine supply, already finding its way to your hands through paths you may not yet be able to see but that exist with absolute reality in the invisible. It is coming, beloved. Your provision is coming. Your breakthrough is coming. Your name was on the check before you knew there was a check to claim, and now you know. And knowing changes everything. Go to the window, present your faith, and receive what has always been yours. And beloved, one final word before you go, because I know how the world works. I know that you will walk away from this teaching, and within hours, the ordinary pressure of daily life will begin its patient work of pulling you back. The phone will ring with a reminder of what is owed. The inbox will carry a message that speaks the language of lack. The mirror will reflect a face that looks more tired than triumphant. And in that moment, the moment when the teaching feels distant and the circumstances feel loud, I want you to remember one thing, just one thing. The invisible check does not disappear when your faith gets quiet. It does not dissolve when your vision gets blurry. It does not move to someone else's name when your decree goes unspoken for a day. It simply waits, with the patience of the eternal, with the faithfulness of the law, with your name still written clearly across it in the ink of divine provision. And all it ever needs, in any moment, at any stage of the journey, is for you to return, to come back to the window, to speak the word again, to hold the picture again, to feel the feeling again, to give the law your address again, because every return is a renewal of the decree. Every moment of realignment is a fresh instruction to the invisible machinery of supply, and the law, every single time without exception, responds to the fresh instruction with fresh movement. It is never too late to claim what was prepared for you. It is never too early to start living as though it is already on its way. The invisible check with your name on it is real. The law that will cash it is faithful. And you, beloved, are the only one who can present it. So present it, today, now, with everything you have, and know, in the deepest place of your knowing, that the receiving has already begun.